Welcome. Today we will discuss the Assets section of Total Online in a little more detail. After watching this video, you should understand how to enter assets in Total Online and how return is controlled on the system. To get started, go into a client, then select a scenario to open and navigate to the Assets page, or use the shortcut from the Scenarios page to go directly to Assets. There are a number of tabs, but we will start with Asset Details. Here you can add, delete, or copy assets. Once an asset is added, you will see it in the asset grid. Start by naming the asset, then selecting a group. Group is very important to Total Online, and an asset without a group will not be included in the analysis. Among the available groups, you have 6 basic choices. Investment asset, specifically a municipal bond asset, separated because of the AMT taxation. Stock options, rental real estate, residence, or personal asset. To make entry here easier, you can type in the letters of the item you are searching for. For example, to find stock options, you can type STO and the selection will jump to the first item with those letters. Your choice here will impact which fields you see for the rest of the screen. If you choose a personal asset, the unneeded fields will be hidden so that you can enter the value and expected return. These assets will only show in the current year net worth and in the estate reports. If you choose residence, the fields will change to those that apply to a personal residence, including market value, expected appreciation rate, and information about a future sale of the property. If a future sale is set up, the mortgage, if properly tied to the home, will automatically be paid off. Then any cash available will go to paying the down payment on the new home before going into the cash flow surplus. Rental real estate had its own section in Total Desktop, but now can be found as a group in Total Online. Here you will see inputs for information about the purchase, income provided by the property, cost basis, mortgages, future sale, expenses, and future improvements. There is a limit of 12 rental real estate properties in Total Online currently. Stock options, similarly, was its own section previously, but is now an asset group. This asset group is unique in that you first enter information about the company that the grants are on, then information about all of the grants that exist for that company. Note that you will also have the option to include the bargain element on your net worth statement. Most of the other options are investment assets, and each provides the same input options with the exception of municipal bonds, which adds the option to mark them as subject to AMT. The next field is type. Similar to group, this field is required by Total Online, and in any asset that has the type field available and does not have an assigned type will not show in the reports. Within type, you have 5 options. Taxable, which is any asset that has only ordinary income interest as potential return. Examples would be savings accounts, CDs, and money market accounts. Equity other, which is any taxable asset or account that has the potential for dividends and capital gains in addition to interest, such as assets held in a brokerage account. Tax-deferred assets, such as annuities not held in a retirement account. Tax-free assets, such as municipal bonds. And finally, retirement plans. If you select the asset as a retirement plan, then a new field opens in which you need to enter the type of retirement plan. Note that this includes the option of inherited IRA. This will open new fields to help the system determine the amount of the required distributions from the account. It is necessary to change the owner on the account only if you're going to be using the estate section of the reports. Available for withdrawal, which appears for investment assets given at any type other than retirement plan, which are always assumed to be available for withdrawal, controls where an asset shows in the report. If unchecked, the asset only shows on the current year net worth. If checked, the asset is used in full throughout the program. For retirement plans, the option appears here to project the plan separately. This produces a report where this is the only asset being projected. Up to 4 retirement plans can be projected separately. Account is optional and helps group assets together for the asset detail report if you select to group the assets by account for that report. Class is used for a few asset allocation reports which display the current and recommended allocation. This does not impact the return for an asset now or in the future using the recommended return. Liquidity impacts the liquidity analysis reports. Beneficiary is currently record keeping. The Tied to Stock Symbol button allows you to associate this asset with a particular ticker symbol and update the stock price in the future. If an asset has the type of equity other or retirement plan, Then you will have the option of entering the value of the asset either by total value or by price per share and number of shares. Other asset types allow only entry by total value. Rate of return for equity other is broken into 4 categories. Interest is taxable each year as ordinary income. Dividends are taxed each year at the preferred dividend tax rate. Capital gains are taxed each year as long-term capital gains at the preferred rate. And appreciation impacts golden years reports. It taxes growth on an account in the future based on growth above cost basis when the asset has a withdrawal. Easy money assumes that the asset is turned over annually, so the appreciation rate is treated identically to the capital gains return. Pre-retirement additions allows you to show money that is being saved in the different accounts from now until retirement. The available fields will change based on who is allowed to make deposits to the account. If contributions don't follow that pattern, they can be entered as positive amounts in the future changes table. Similarly, if you want to schedule withdrawals from a particular asset in a certain year or period of life, then you can enter those as negative amounts in the future changes table. Before moving on to the next tab, let us look at how Total Online assigns rate of return. To start, be aware that every type goes through this process to find which return is used. On each individual asset, you can enter a rate of return. Similarly, in the settings, asset class settings, you can assign returns to your asset classes and have the system fill in your rate of return in the detail section when you assign an asset class. If no return is entered anywhere else, the program will go to Assumptions Default Rates to find the default rates of return to use. For future years, there are 2 ways to change your returns. First is the checkbox, again in the Assumptions Default Rates section, to use a new set of rates at retirement. If this box is checked, these rates will be used starting at retirement no matter what other input is currently controlling the return. Back in the Asset section is a tab we will talk about soon called Rate Changes, which can also be used to change rates in future years, but allows for the changes to take place in any particular year instead of just the year of retirement. For each type, taxable, equity, other, etc., the system looks to see if any rates are entered on the details page for any asset. If so, it uses those rates for every asset. Because of this, if you enter rates for one asset and not another, then the asset with no rates entered will be seen as having a 0% rate of return. For this reason, it is highly recommended that users choose one method for entering rates of return rather than try to use different methods for different types. A good way to check to see if you have entered returns correctly is to look at the Rate Changes page to see what the weighted average rates of return are. If they are 0, the program will go to assumptions for your returns. If they are more than 0, but less than you expect, you may have a few assets that do not have returns entered in details and thus are using a 0% rate of return. The next section is Retirement Plan Additions. This section allows you to automatically maximize the contributions to one type of retirement plan per individual, plus a Roth IRA. It is possible to double the allowable contributions, as this does not check the contributions being made manually through the pre-retirement additions or future changes we just discussed. To check and make sure that you are not doubling additions, you can click View Additions to see what inputs have been made on the pre-retirement additions of the Asset Details screen. Allocation has both the risk information and a space to suggest customized allocation for this particular case. If you do not enter a custom allocation here, the program will look at your settings and the assigned risk tolerance for what allocation to suggest. Rate Changes allows you to set future changes to your weighted average rate of return for each asset type. Lastly, Accounts is a screen to see the accounts that have been entered and the assets that have been assigned to those different accounts. Assets is a very important part of the program to fully understand. Please take the time to call us with any questions you have regarding assets or any other part of Total Online.